637-0094, that's the number. Definitely want to hear from you guys, and someone we love hearing from any of the mayors. I feel like they just know a lot. You know what I mean? They know what's going on the village level, Zori on the ground. So they got their first in-person meeting going down to I think it's to the Dededo Community Center, right?
Or Senior Center, I
Dededo
think.
Senior Center. And so let's bring on Mayor of Dededo and the president of the Mayor's Council of Guam, Dededo Mayor Melissa Savares. Good morning, Mayor.
Hi, good morning.
Hi.
So have you guys set up the meeting area with the social distancing and all that? Is it ready to go?
Yes, it is. Yes, we're ready to go. It's tables are set, 2 per table at a distance, 1 on each end of the table kind of thing, and the tables are set to go. Everybody will be spaced out, and of course, we're ready to talk business, right?
Right, and so I know that you guys have been pretty much first responders on the COVID on just so many levels for the last couple months, but this is going to be the first time you guys have really got to address some issues that, I don't want to say non-COVID, but yeah, they're kind of non-COVID, right?
It's still village business as usual. Of course, we're going to talk about things that have been happening in the villages. Our senior centers. We have 12 senior citizen centers, plus adult daycare and dementia. The dementia center. We have, the concerns with our seniors not being able to come back yet, and how we can address those concerns and look at plans on ways to bring them back, addressing, keeping the social distancing in mind. Of course, we continue, Chris and Sabrina, to still feed the participants their meals on a daily basis. Those that drive up do a drive-through pickup, and then those that ride the bus and get home delivery meals. But, there's more than just, those things. Other businesses, as you know, we have many things going on in the villages that we have a new mayor-elect for Jordan, so he'll be participating as an observer today. He will be introduced to the body, and he will just observe until he is actually sworn in after the certification by GEC. And so, of course, there's a lot of budgetary concerns as well. There's some bills on the floor reflects on mayor's council issues as well. So those would be discussed. And
Mayor, the health insurance choice bill, this is something you guys passed a unanimous resolution in support of. That seems like so long ago, right, before the COVID, and now they're debating it on the session floor. So you anticipate any discussion on that? Because we had spoke with Angel yesterday, and he said that it probably would come up today.
Yes, so we'll probably have discussion, because it's one of the bills that we actually supported, because we believe in choices, especially for our people who are government employees. And this past year we had our struggles with just having to adjust to one carrier. But that's probably, we did send in a resolution to support that measure to give employees a choice of to choose a medical insurance for their families.
Has there been any other conversations, maybe renewed dialogue with the senators at the legislature since this is on the floor now?
No, because we did send our resolution of support in for the choice of medical insurances. So, we'll let our resolution stands. It will support our unanimous decision as a council, and so hopefully they would take that into consideration.
I was talking to some retirees yesterday about this choice issue, and what are you hearing from the retirees? Because I'm hearing that they definitely want to have that, especially given the COVID time. A lot of people have put their health and their health care in perspective, and the retirees I'm talking to are favoring choice with the health insurance.
Oh, of course, definitely.
What about this recycling revolving fund issue, Mayor?
Well, okay, so I've been in discussion with our executive director. Guam EP, there was an announcement a few days ago that the funding has been turned over to the mayor's council. At this time, he still hasn't signed the memo of agreement between Guam EPA and the council. We are, I know that the EPA board has already approved for the transfer of funding. Our executive director needs to sign the MOA between EPA and the mayor's council, and then once that gets done, then it'll be walked through to the attorney general's office for their review. Once that gets through the AG's office, then it goes to the governor for her signature. So that does take some time. I think one of the media, print media, had posted that that the money has been transferred already. Well, that's not quite right. It didn't get transferred yet. We're still in the process. Of course, with EPA being down for a few months, that was kind of the delay. We've been waiting for this funding so that we can address the abandoned vehicles, junk tire, all the recyclables in the communities that are littering our streets and our roadways and our neighborhoods. So we're hoping that we get that before the end of the fiscal year, so that we can make sure that that our villages get cleaned. Of course, this is something that we've been working on annually. The issue with that is that we do need to wait for the money that's transferred from Guam EPA.
Mm-hmm. So once that money is transferred, how much are you guys looking at getting, and how is that going to be dispersed to each respective village?
Okay, so what happens is we work with the licensed contractors that Guam EPA has, that are licensed, all the contractors throughout the island that are licensed and permitted with Guam EPA. We want to make sure that their facilities, their hauling permits are up to date, and we divide equally the funding. Of course, what happens is we start off with say maybe $10,000 per village, and then per item. You can't combine the hauler for metal and junk vehicles and tires. They're all separate vendors. So you'll have one purchase order for tires, one purchase order for loose metal, one for white goods, and then one for junk abandoned vehicles. Mm-hmm. And so there are several vendors that we deal with that are permitted with Guam EPA, and of course they're all licensed. We share, we don't just choose one or two particular vendors. All the vendors that are permitted get a share of the pot, a purchase order, and they work with the village mayors.
Mm-hmm. How is that fair, though, if everybody gets the same amount of money, each village, when some villages
is,
are bigger?
The larger villages,
mm-hmm.
the larger villages do get a little bit more.
Okay.
So maybe we would start, like the smaller villages, of course, would probably start off with 5,000, the larger villages with 10. So like not necessarily for just vehicles, but maybe I'll get 10,000 for tires, 10,000 for vehicles, and then another 10 for or 5,000 for loose metal and white goods, because they don't cost us much to dispose as we do tires. Mm-hmm. Cars. Mm-hmm. So it really depends on across the board. All of us would get. The larger villages, of course, will get a little bit more, maybe 5,000 more than what the smaller ones.
And speaking of getting more, budget discussions are at some point going to really start ramping up, and I'm not sure if it's still the same way, but for the mayors, are they still all getting the same budget across the board?
When it comes to our special funds, like our village allotments, as far as the ground maintenance, well, we don't have ground maintenance for schools, but we have our island-wide beautification, street maintenance funds. Across the board, everybody gets a certain amount depending on our road mileage, and then after that we use a percent of the road mileage. I believe we're still on the 2009 road mileage from DPW. Of course, we we go by the mileage. That's our island-wide beautification. So, but however, with the tourist attraction fund for beautification, cleanups and stuff, that is 20,000 across the board per village.
Mm-hmm.
So there's certain special funds that get equal distribution, and then with our street maintenance budget, because that comes out of liquid fuel taxes, that we get across the board, and then divided, whatever's left gets divided by based on the percentage of your road mileage.
Mm-hmm. How fair do you think that is that mayors or villages are getting the same amount across the board, considering that like Dededo, for example, it's the largest village.
Yeah, there are four of us, four large villages that still. Of course, we're always trying to fight for, disbursement by population. But of course, there's more smaller villages. And so the four of us kind of stick together. That's Dededo, Jigo, Manila, and Tumune. We kind of stick together and say, we lobby with our colleagues. But you know what? We work with each other. Our budget is lump sum when it comes to the mayor's council. And if they see a need and we say, you have extra funding, and it's, because it's lump sum, it's just one account from the mayor's council. If, say, Umatic has only 70 cars to remove, and I still have 700 cars to remove, and he doesn't finish his funding, it's coming from the same account number. We work on that. We share,
Mm-hmm.
So, we compromise with each other as a body. So it's not just mine, all mine. It's ours, So,
right.
Yeah.
Okay. And you mentioned it briefly earlier about what the plan is going to be and how you're going to be talking about what to do about the reopening of senior centers.
Yes.
What are some of the ideas that are being discussed or that are being contemplated?
It's really tough. 3 of us have really large active senior centers, and that's Tumaning, the Dededo Senior Center. I have 2 senior centers. So we have the Dededo Senior Center and the Manila Senior Center. And of course, Sinahanya, they're very active senior centers. A lot of our participants come on a daily basis. But because of social distancing, and we have to make sure that, our seniors are the most vulnerable population, right? And we've known that from the very beginning. How do you pick and choose who comes or what days they come? And because social distancing, we have, before COVID, there's 4 per table, and these are 6 feet tables, 6 feet long tables, but 2 on each side. They're less than 2 feet away from each other if they're sitting across from each other. So the concerns are we need to find ways. Even if we bought more tables, there's just not enough floor space. So those are things that we need to look at and discuss because we feel we can't. These are our seniors. These are our baby boomers. They're our prime, residents who lived their life, took care of their families, and are now enjoying their senior ages with their friends. And when they come to the centers, it's a social event for them, mm-hmm. and the activities that they participate in. So how do we segregate them? How do we keep social distancing, and then still allow them to come back? So those are things that we'll be discussing. There's no more floor space. We can't extend the building, and we just need to continue the discussion, which we have been on how we can gradually bring them back. And we talked to the governor. They're probably going to be one of the last.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
With the daycares, probably, right, Mayor?
Correct. I see the concerns. Yesterday, I received a call from a resident whose mother goes to our dementia center, and he said, "Mayor, I need to go back to work, and it's just me and my mom. Where am I going to put her? And now that his office is opening, he's called back. He can't just leave his mom by herself at home, and so he's needing to take a few more days off until there's a plan. And you know, it's just a difficult task and a decision. How do we bring them back? And then we still practice the social distancing to assure that, like I said, we don't have enough floor space in the rooms. If we only allow half to come, how do we break the news to the other half that, those that live in a certain housing area can't be bussed in today because we have the car riders coming in. Those are the tough decisions that we need to and we see them, most of them, on a daily basis, Monday through Friday, because their meals get delivered to them. Right. These are the participants. And our staff are continuing. How are you today? It's those little conversations just to make sure that they're okay. And their concerns now, their questions, when are we coming back? That kind of stuff.
Mayor, if it was up to you, though, and you did the social distancing and stuff, if you didn't need anyone's approval, do you think you could pull it off in a way that's safe for the Monumco?
I would, if it was up to me, I would probably bring them into my gym, since we're not having youth basketball this summer because of, all the events that are coming up. I mean, that we've had to practice. However, we've opened our gym for the census to have them, because it's a large area, they can do appointments for residents to come in and do their census surveys. They will be using the gym this summer. So by appointment only, of course. So, this is something that needs to get done that will benefit our communities entirely in the future once we have those numbers. So, we just need to find another way. I don't know how, if we can. And the seniors are so used to being with each other. Those that are in congregated housing, we have Gura 82, which is an elderly housing area. We have Summertown. We have Tranquilidad. Those that are in congregated housing, even they practice social distancing. They talk to their neighbors through their doors, so that there's no physical contact. They know the concerns, but they do miss their friends that are not, that they see. When seniors are idle, sometimes their memory goes, right? So these are our concerns that we have for our seniors, and this discussion will continue.
Right. You said you had spoke to the governor. Was there? Is this a meeting with the mayors, or just?
No. We had we just started a.
No, not a meeting or anything crazy like that.
No, it's not a meeting. No,
not a meeting.
It's we're having discussions now. We started every Monday with the governor, the speaker, myself, and the chief justice. So
that sounds like a meeting, Mayor.
Well, it's Zoom. It was Zoom meeting.
Oh, the Zoom.
And it's to start. We're moving on to plans for P3, Core 3. So of course the discussions are, how are we going to start opening the other places? What
do you think of that, Mayor? Do you think we're ready to gun it to Core 3, or are you concerned that it kind of seems like we've been having some positive cases lately?
That's my concern. Is now I haven't been to the mall, but I understand that at certain times of the day, the mall gets crowded.
Wow.
So even with churches opening, there's still people that feel not quite safe. They're still doing parking lot. I understand some churches are still continuing their Zoom services or what is it called? FaceTime? What is it? Facebook services.
Yeah,
and
Facebook Live.
Yeah. So, because people still don't feel comfortable coming into congregated areas, it's going to take a little bit more time. When the positive cases, the 2 positive were announced yesterday, my concern is, oh my gosh, I hope it's not coming from a grocery store, department store, mall, And I'm glad that more of the testing is going into small community testing, because that's where we can get the awareness out. I mean, the other day the Dededo, they did a homeless, but it wasn't just homeless people that came. it's neighborhoods. They walked in, they drove. Many walked in, some.
That's good.
A few drove in, but we had over 60 participants that came in to get tested. In other places where they did the homeless screening, they had like 30, a little over 30 in each area. But I was pleased to know that there were 60, at least 60 that came in.
And also the fact that now it's for anybody. You don't have to have symptoms to go and get testing. And I think yours is Thursday, right?
Nobody's turned away.
Right, yeah.
Away, yeah.
About time.
Yes.
So, Mayor, it sounds like you're concerned about going to PCOR 3 because of these. I mean, there was a point where it was like 0 positive, 0 positive, 0 positive, and then it was like 11 positive, and then they were like, don't worry, it's just a cluster.
Yeah, cluster plus one somewhere else, right?
Right, and then we've seen, 1 positive, 2 positives, 2 positives, so there's definitely been an increase. I mean, well, when you have a bunch of zeros, anything above that is an increase, but... So you're saying you're concerned about PCOR 3?
I am, because I don't want another closure, And one of the things is that, people are starting to get impatient because they want to do stuff. And, I always remind people, please be patient, be thankful that you didn't, have corona or COVID. You weren't a positive, because that's even worse, not only for you, but for your entire people that surround you. This whole experience is a life change, eye opener for all of us. We talk about we're all first responders. We talk about the different events that we respond to. I said I would rather have a typhoon, because after a typhoon we clean up, we get back to, and then everybody's back to normal, right? Mm-hmm. But so of course, this is something, we just got to continue to pray that there are no more positives. People start, keeping their distance. Wearing their mask is important. I mean, I was talking to somebody yesterday where we were setting up, and he says, well, if everybody's wearing their mask, we shouldn't worry about how far apart they are. And I said, but, we still need to practice that.
Mm-hmm. Right, because it's also you touch stuff with your hands, and you touch that, then you touch your face. There's just so many ways. So many ways to catch the COVID.
Yes.
All right.
Was there any discussion in your meeting, Zoom meeting, about the homeless shelter?
They are still working on that. They're looking at other facilities, and of course, that discussion happens every time that there is a meeting.
It seems like we've been talking about that since before day one.
There is a lot of issues that we have to address, and you don't want to segregate and just stereotype people. So we have to be very careful with that.
Right. Well, I thought the last time we got an update was when one of the reporters asked during the media briefings, that were they looking at an RFP
that was
or
me.
Something? Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was some great reporter in the press conference that asked a great hard-hitting question about the status of the hardened homeless shelter, and the governor had said that there's either an RFI or an RFP or an RF something out. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I'm assuming that means we're going to be seeing some action soon. But, I was talking with a friend of mine last night, and this is like a basic Democrat principle for the Democratic Party to take care of the homeless, and I don't know what the hell is going on. It's been forever, it's been too long, and there's been too little done. But that's just my 2 cents, Mayor.
One of the processes is to also assist them in applying for some kind of shelter.
Right.
GURA has programs, Guam Housing has programs. There's programs out there with nonprofit organizations as well. West Care, if you're a veteran, you qualify for certain programs. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I have one individual who was actually positive COVID, was in an isolation facility, and is considered homeless. He was taken care of by West Care because he has a DD-214. They have a program, and he's being taken care of. He's not homeless anymore.
Yeah,
So
that's good.
So there's many kinds of programs, and it's just about assisting them. And we are here to assist them in applying for services.
Good.
So, we're not just going to say, hey, you're homeless, here's a paper. Sometimes those questions can be intimidating.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of intimidating, the PUA.
Nice segue, Bree. What are your residents saying about applying for this unemployment, Mayor? Have you seen the process?
They're going online.
Mm-hmm.
They're going online. They're applying. One called us the other day, said, I made a mistake, but there's no way of me going in. So I said, call the 311 number and get assistance. And they said, yeah, but the assistant says to call the mayor's office. I said, I didn't go online, so I'm really not familiar with the questions, but there are people that can answer that, So we're trying to direct them. And, I met with the team. We're going to be using their planning. They have plans to open up the libraries on certain days for people who don't have access to a computer,
right,
and to use the library computers. So we're working as a team. Whatever support they need, we're here. Okay.
Right
All
on.
right,
Well, thank you, Mayor. We'll let you go ahead and I know you're prepping for the meeting. I heard Agate's serving.
Yes, Chris Agate is serving, and today's his birthday. So shout out to Mayor Kevin.
Oh, happy birthday,
right.
Mayor Kevin.
Happy birthday.
Right on.
Okay.
I'm anticipating you Bula Manyahak.
Oh, I really don't know. Probably if they caught it.
I mean, don't play shy, Mayor. Come on. It is what it is. He's like, Manyahak? I don't know about Manyahak, Chris. And you're going to be the one with that high on your plate. Right. In Agate, though, they do, yeah.
Yes.
You don't have Manyahak in Dededo, yeah.
Oh,
Wow.
no, my ponting basins don't have.
Only tilapia, right?
Yes, and catfish.
Okay, Mayor.
Good luck today, Mayor.
Okay, thank you.
Wash your hands.
Okay. Yes, I
Nice,
will. Bye-bye.
Okay.
Bye.
Dededo Mayor Melissa Tavares. Always great to get her. Let's keep it on the phones here. And there was a governor's physicians advisory meeting last night, so we want to fold in our plant, our inside man. Not too loud, right, Doc? Dr. Hoa, when